Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Matt, and you've reached King Trinus Tribe. Well, guess what? Uh, I'm gonna tell all my subscribers how appreciative I am of them, because I really am. And I'm gonna save my rambling on for this video and jump straight to the message. Today, I'm gonna share my experience about autoimmune and my experience with the Wim Hof Method. So hopefully this provides an added benefit to people, to provide some insights and knowledge to assist them along their journey, which is my whole purpose in this video. Not to say this is the only way of doing things, but just provide you my experience, and hopefully you can take away and add it to your life if you see benefit, and just experiment like I did. But anyway, I'm going to move on to the message, which share my experience of how I got to the point of having autoimmune, and then how I got to the point of learning about the Wim Hof Method and implementing it into my life. So starting out, I was in the military. I was in high stress environments. Got multiple vaccines that sometimes, in conjunction with each other. Each vaccine, not one at a time, and then just in and out of multiple environments. And so then I started getting like these reactions where it was just like I would just feel like so sick, and like I would just feel nauseous, and I would just feel like that when I'd eat something, it would just make me sick. And so I saw a lot of doctors. I seen lots of gastrologists. I seen multiple ER docs, and I seen family doctors, and I would have endoscopies and all kinds of procedures done, and they would just tell me that they couldn't find anything wrong with me. And one doctor actually told me that it was all in my head. And that sort of pissed me off, because I'm like, there's no way in hell this pain is real. I mean, fake. I would not be faking pain. I'm telling you that much now. And it was excruciating pain where I was like bent over, and sometimes in pain, and my stomach was crampy, and the pain was so severe. And I'm not one to take pain medicine, but when I would go to the emergency room, they would give me some pretty extreme pain medicine to help me deal with that, the amount of pain I was going through. And I gladly accepted it because of the amount of pain I was in. So it got so bad that I was admitted to a university hospital. And I was assigned specific gastrologists and allergists that researched autoimmune, and they dealt with autoimmune on a regular basis. And at the time, I had no idea what autoimmune was, and nor what exactly was going on with me. So I was probably seeing these doctors for about five or more years. With multiple procedures to include blood draws, and taking certain drugs or prescriptions, and basically being a guinea pig. And the doctors would always say, this works for some people, but the only way is by taking it. It might work for you, and I was like, at the point I was just like, man, I'll do anything just so I don't have to deal with this stuff. And then come to find out, working with the allergist and gastrologist, part of my autoimmune was basically food allergies. And a few of the foods that I was allergic to was eggs, soy, lima beans, chilies, and peanuts. And it was kind of weird, because I grew up in the South, and of course we love peanuts, and we love to eat eggs for breakfast. And when I was a baby, I couldn't have regular milk because I was allergic to it, so I had to drink soy milk. So that's what was so weird was I went through my whole life having these things, and then all of a sudden I'm allergic to it. So anyway, and I gained a lot of weight. Some of the weight that I gained was a lot of it was from the medications that I was taking. The steroids, they caused me to have like what they call moon face or whatever. And yeah, I gained a lot of weight. And then after that, then I began having knee problems. And some of my knee problems was due to, being in the military, and some of it was from the weight that I was gaining. And I had 3 procedures done on my knee, on the same knee. And the last one I had was the worst, because I had an option. Basically, they told me that from the middle to the inner part of my knee, all the cushion had worn away pretty much. And so they say you have 2 options. Either you can have a partial knee replacement, and or we can break your leg, realign it so that way that it wears from the middle part of your knee to the outer part of your knee, which will preserve your knee for possibly longer. You'll be allowed to like run and do whatever you want to, and you don't, but eventually you'll have to have, a knee replacement. So I was, they didn't recommend me running and doing activities with a partial knee replacement. So I was like, well, I definitely want to be able to, enjoy, a longer portion of my life without, being limited. So I went through with that procedure. And I mean, that was probably the most excruciating pain that I've ever felt. I thought that, my stomach pain was bad, but when I had my leg broken, it was terrible. I mean, and and at that time I was also going through a divorce, and I couldn't take really good care of myself, and my ex-wife was supposed to be taking care of me. She didn't do a really good job, but anyway, the fact is I was going through all that stuff, and I basically had to fend for myself for the most part. And then my health got so bad because of that, because of the fact of the stress that I was going through, and my body wasn't healing as good as it, as well as it should have. And I started developing these blisters all over my knee. And when I went back to the doctor, he was really highly concerned. He actually told me later on that he had never seen someone that was in that type of shape after a procedure, and that he was worried for my life. And I almost was readmitted back to the emergency room, but I wasn't. I didn't get readmitted, and then I started gradually getting better, which took way longer than what it should have. So fast forward a year, and by the way, when I'm sharing this experience, I'm not doing it for sympathy. I just want to give you a little background, so that way you can know, some of the things that contributed to me having autoimmune, and then how the Wim Hof Method has actually, I feel, helped me. So anyway, so fast forward a year, I was still having knee pain, and I thought at first it was due to the metal that was inside of my knee, because it was they had to use a larger size bracket in order to secure my knee where they broke it. And so, but I had to wait like, I don't know, 15 months or something like that before they could remove it. So I finally had the hardware removed, and I was still having knee pain. So I began researching, and I came across, ice therapy, which is not anything that's not known, or, people have been doing ice therapy for a while. But I started I actually started taking ice baths, because my pain in my knee was pretty bad, and I did not want to have another. After going through that surgery, I did not want to have to go through another surgery. So I started taking ice baths for my knee for inflammation, and at the same time, I was still taking medications for my autoimmune disorder, and so as my prescriptions started running out, then I didn't refill them because I was tired of taking prescriptions too. And I was like, well, let me see if I actually need these prescriptions or not. And it wasn't a prescription where the only thing that would happen would be, I would feel sick like I was before. And so I was like, well, I'm willing to take that risk because I've already cut out certain foods out of my diet, and I don't want to take medications anymore if I don't have to. So I didn't refill the prescriptions, and but I kept taking these ice baths, and I would also mix it up a little bit, and I would take baths that were so hot, basically as hot as I could withstand. And I would do that with Epsom salt. But I also changed my diet. I created a healthier diet where I was basically eating just fruits, vegetables, and limited types of meat like chicken, fish, and then limited a limit in my pork and beef. And then I increased my exercising. I would do that like 4 to 6 times a week. Increased my meditation. I increased the frequency of my meditation and the length of my meditation. And then I also changed the way that I prayed and the frequency of me praying. Instead of me asking and almost feeling like I was begging in my prayers, I prayed as if it's already happening, because I had increased trust and faith, and I knew that I was not praying properly, and I also gave appreciation for God and the angels. And then I just changed my thoughts and changed my behaviors, and so I was basically going through a life change, and all of this stuff was happening at the same time. And around 2016, so 3 years ago. So fast forward to September of this year, I was going through my YouTube, and I just kept having these videos pop up of Wim Hof, and people sharing their testimonies of Wim Hof, and I didn't really think anything about it, but I was like, what's Wim Hof or whatever. And finally, it just kept popping up. So I just I clicked on the videos, and one of them that caught my mind was how the Wim Hof Method helped autoimmune disorder, and that's where I actually the one that I actually caught my eye. And I was like, what the heck? So I listened to it, and the guy was an older gentleman, and he's like telling how he was basically doing the same stuff that I was doing, going to doctors and all these medications, and he was getting this like a pool of ice water, and how it helped him and stuff. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So I spent a whole day watching and researching this method, and I saw many people with autoimmune that the Wim Hof Method had helped, and then during my research, I seen that a lot of it was backed by science, which was what made it even more interesting. And then I started thinking back to when I started taking these ice baths for my knee. I didn't know anything about Wim Hof or the Wim Hof Method, and I was just taking it for strictly inflammation in my knee, because I was do anything to preserve my knee and try to reduce the amount of inflammation. But what I figured out was that was actually the turning point for me, taking control of my autoimmune disorder. It's when I stopped taking my medications. It's whenever I started feeling a lot better, a lot healthier, and I made a lot of changes at that time. So I decided to start experimenting on myself, and started out practicing Wim Hof's breathing techniques, and I thought that was really cool because it wasn't just one thing. His method didn't include just jumping in a tub of ice water. It would actually it's combined of breathing techniques along with cold therapy and meditation, which I was already doing a lot of that already, except for his breathing techniques. But it was really a cool experience. And so then I started out with 5 pounds of ice and a cold bath water, and then I eventually a couple weeks later I moved up to 10 pounds of ice and the cold bath water, and then 20 pounds of ice a couple weeks later, and then 25. I did 25 pounds of ice last Sunday, and I usually stay in 15 plus minutes per bath. And I know people are like, man, that is crazy, but I'm gonna let you know that anything that I can do, you guys can do too. Anything that Wim Hof can do, we can do too. I know it sounds excruciating, the cold, and if you, I would encourage you that if you are interested in this method, that you start out with cold showers and then work your way up to, cold bath water, and then, then put like 5 pounds of ice in there and let your body adjust to it. Just don't jump into like 20 pounds of ice. But what I have noticed from using this technique is reduced inflammation. I've noticed increased energy, less pain overall, because with having knee conditions creates other conditions such as like back pain and neck pain and shoulder pain, and especially whenever you're working out 4 to 6 times a week. So I've noticed less pain overall, and I still don't take prescriptions for anything. The only thing I take is some allergy medicine just for general maintenance purposes, and then reduce stress. And I feel like my skin actually has gotten a lot, it's gotten a lot tighter, and it feels a lot, I think my skin's gotten a lot healthier through this method. And then it is mind over matter. It actually helps you strengthen your mind and increase your mental control. And if you research the Wim Hof Method, he claims that it helps with decreasing anxiety and depression and a few other mental disorders. And I think what that actually does is it not only is it cold as fuck whenever you get in there and you're just like, what the fuck, man, it's like so cold. Oh, sorry for the cursing, but that really makes you feel that way. You're like, oh my god, it's freaking cold. But then once you get into your mind and you mind over matter, and you start sort of getting into a meditation, and you start just concentrating on the breathing portion of it, then you're like, man, I'm really enduring this. And the time just flies by. Whenever I say 15 minutes, you might think that, wow, that's a long time. But the time really does go by really quick, especially when you're concentrating on the breathing techniques. But yeah, it's really cold, and I always tell people, I'm like, man, I feel less pain when I get out. I don't know if it's because I'm so freaking cold that I just can't feel anything, or is this method really working? But no, I really feel like this method does work, and I really feel like that it helps increase and strengthen your mind, and it shows you that you have abilities within you. You have healing abilities within you, and you're able to withstand things that normally people would think that you cannot withstand. But humans are remarkable, and you have remarkable abilities, and some of these abilities we haven't even harnessed. And so basically my point was to share my experience and not tell you that this is a cure-all. I don't believe that, but I do believe that personal healing is given to each of us. And I do believe God, our source, provides natural remedies to assist with our healing. And I do know prayer and asking for assistance from source, and especially Archangel Raphael, which is a master healer, I know that actually works. So I believe that we humans only use 10% of our abilities, and my goal is to discover and train others to increase their abilities and awareness of these abilities and be able to harness the energy that corresponds with each of these abilities. And to do that, I do know that we must be balanced. Your Holy Trinity, mind, body, and soul, must be balanced in order to be able to take advantage of, these abilities that we're not aware of and we're not able to use at this point. But once we are a balanced state, then we can begin to tap into our abilities. And this is why all great yogis, philosophers such as Jesus, Wayne Dyer, Sadhguru, Wim Hof, etc., tell us what I can do, you can do. And that's how you know that, that's personally how I resonate with people, is whenever I see these people doing great feats and they tell you that you can do the same things that they're doing. So as part of my journey and mission is to discover and share and assist with humanity with an understanding of how great their abilities are, to tap into and implement these abilities into their life. The abilities are within you, but you need to understand how to harness them and how to tap into those abilities. So anyway, I hope this has been useful. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact or comment on this video or email me, kingtriumphtribe@gmail.com, and I'll put that in the description of this video. And I believe in each of you and know that each of you have the abilities that are unfathomable at this point. So keep working hard and on your deliberate development, self-improvement, and personal healing. And remember the 3 most important things in life: peace, love, and happiness. Y'all have a great day.